My first reaction to the Nacirema article was shock because I didn't know why anyone would want to put themselves through all of that. What sounded like torture, it just sounded really harmful, like it was really painful, nothing I would ever want to do. And I remember peer sharing, and I was like, yeah, my first thought is judgment, is why would you do this? But then I was like, but I also, if they don't know anything else, if no one has told them that there's better things that they can do, why would they stop? Because they don't know any better. They don't have anyone to show them that there's an easier way of life. Because when they were talking about like the medicine men and all that stuff, it sounded really harsh. It sounded really like, ouch. And finding out that it is just American culture, it makes sense, and I get it. And I was able to be like, okay, this is this. And it's really interesting to see how a culture that I'm so familiar with and so comfortable with can seem so harmful and so crazy to someone who has never experienced my kind of culture. So I actually thought it was really, really cool when I found out that it was just American culture, because it really does put it into perspective, like how different cultures work and how something so normalized and so ordinary for me can seem really scary and really harmful and just not super out of the ordinary for someone who's not from America, or an alien. Oh, that sounds bad. I didn't mean an alien. I meant an alien from outer space. Something I want to talk about that's related to U.S. cultural, values is texting. Because I noticed that it's not even a cultural, sometimes it's not even a cultural thing. It's within the culture that it is seen as different or seen as weird. For example, I am constantly told that my generation cannot talk on the phone, that we cannot talk to people, we've lost all communication skills. I don't think that's true. In fact, I think it's really harmful to say, not really, but I think it's harmful to constantly put down a lower generation for something that you created, because we are constantly texting and instead of calling, and I understand that older generations grew up with phone calls and they didn't have text. That was not a thing, and so I think that is just it doesn't even have to be outside of the U.S. culture, although I think it is. I think there are I don't know for sure, but I think there are some cultures that don't text as often as we do, and might see us staring at this tiny little screen in our hands and are just typing away, and then we're like, oh, our friend said this, and then it could be well, how do you know your friend said this? Oh, I sent them a little electronic thing on this little box that I have, and they got it on their little box that they have, and it's really crazy. And sometimes I can't reach their box because I didn't plug it in to the wall, or I am not in an area of the world that the box works from. And so it's kind of interesting to think about how texting could be seen as different from other cultures, but also from different generations within the same culture. So like I had said, the older generation, texting changes throughout time, and so, or it has changed throughout time. It started off as you had to have physically press the button, the keyboards, and there were 3 letters to each thing, so you had to repeatedly click one if you wanted the last letter or the second letter or whatever. And then we used to not even have texting, and we would have to call on phones. And so I do think that texting has maybe stunted our communication skills a little bit, just because we are able to kind of say something. I think it's stunted us because you can't read tone through text, and you can't really read tone through text, and people will often hide behind their screens. So something they would have never said to you in person or over the phone, they will confidently say to you over text. So I think it also leads to another issue with bullying, like cyberbullying, that we constantly see in texting, on social media, on, like, people would never say these things over the phone. Like, if they had to call your house and be like, hi, is your child here? I want to tell them they're fat. Like, so it's changed drastically. It has changed how we've communicated with one another. I think in some ways it's made us meaner. I do think that my generation has lost some communication skills. I don't think we're horrible communicators, but I do understand where we've lost that communication skill. Like I had previously mentioned, the tone over text is often lost, and it can be really hard to get a text message to come across the way that you want it to come across. It can cause issues that don't need to be caused just because someone thought you were saying something in a mean way when you actually meant it in a nice or neutral way. And there is a article written by a scholar at Penn State University who backs my opinion up. And they say that although texting was created to enable quicker and easier terms of communicating, it has a rather damaging effect on real interaction face-to-face. Whereas within a text message, the emotion and purpose behind what is trying to be said can be misinterpreted. It also says that we are slowly lacking the ability and skill of human interaction, and because texting is valued so much in today's society, it's just continuing to be detrimental to our society. So although I think texting was originally a good, quicker way of communication, I do think it is starting to become more of an issue, and it is leading us to be less effective communicators. So yeah, thank you.